Hello and welcome to the Scoutcast ahead of GW19. Our Christmas plans are already in tatters thanks to a certain Spurs midfielder, but will Boxing Day's games be bah humbug or full of cheer? My name is Joe.
My name's David.
My name's Andy.
Welcome everyone. Nice delay there. As we look ahead to the weekend's matches and beyond, David, what is coming up on the show? And I conveniently noticed in the notes that I haven't actually written them out, so you're just going to have to invent it. David, are you there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, hello. Yes, I was waiting for you guys to come back.
Apologies, no, that's fine. I was going to ask you what was going on in the show, and then I noticed that I hadn't actually put it in the notes. But can you wing?
No, it's all right. I mean, you'd sent me in the Slack channel, so that's all fine. Well, I mean, obviously, even if you hadn't, I suppose I could have guessed what the first section is going to be, and yes, it's going to be replacements for Son. So many of us were planning on rolling our free transfers for Boxing Day and enjoying our Christmas days, right? Well, not anymore because we've all got to sell him, or not. There are some people considering not selling him in light of recent decisions by Spurs themselves. We're going to talk about Boxing Day captains because we're going to try and roll up as many of the videos we usually do in a week into one package. So we will be talking about captaincy in some detail as well. And then in terms of the teams, we're going to be looking at Everton as they recently appointed Carlo Ancelotti, which is quite a coup for them. Some decent form as well. A little bit of discussion about Man United as well. We'll be doing the usual differentials and clean sheets as well. And also representing a bit of Christmas cheer. I've got a Christmas jumper on, so's Andy, but Joe let in the side down. So hopefully some banter about that coming up soon.
I'm going to nip off and beat up the Cratchit family afterwards. So anyway, I'm not
beat them up.
I'm not. Yeah, I know. I'm that much of a Scrooge. But no matter how Scroogey I am, I'm nothing compared to Son. What a blooming Grinch and a Scrooge and all other nasty words there. Completely ruined our plans, hasn't he? So let's have a look back at Game Week 18. Big story that we know. So all of us got red arrows, I believe, and all of us got just above the average. So mini success there. So I'm incredibly top of the tree with 44. There, lots of red there, lots of red going on. Red arrows, red players, everything. Son in for Manny, that went well, and captained went even better. Although I did get Grealish in for Mount for free. So that bit went well, and thankfully that bit meant I'm still hovering around the 100k mark. I was looking good on Saturday. I thought it was going quite well. I was getting returns from a number of players: Pope and Lundstrom, Jimenez, obviously Grealish, and then De Bruyne, Vardy. All looking good, but yeah, then Sunday came. And my dreams of getting over the 50-point mark were completely scuppered. I ended up with 1 point out of Rashford, Son and Ali. Brilliant. David, how did you get on?
Well, not much better, to be honest. At least I didn't bring Son in this week, but I still captained him, so that was great. Saturday was quite enjoyable, actually. I quite enjoyed Saturday. I didn't get off to the best of starts because I took a -4 to get Sterling, Richarlison and Target in for Mane, Pulisic, and Lowton. And of course, Everton, despite all the form they've been showing, going against an Arsenal team that had been dreadful, did barely anything. And to be honest, it was a bit unfortunate on Richarlison because he started the game up front, as we all kind of expected. That was kind of one of the reasons why I'd got him in. But then he had to move to the left of a 4-4-2 midfield because Iwobi got injured and he brought Tosin on. Mm-hmm. So, I think I've been a bit unlucky in that respect because I think had he played up front, maybe they might have got more going. Sterling obviously brought me, enough, I suppose. But obviously, I think the biggest disappointment of the game week was two. Firstly, look at my bench. Henderson, 12 points. Cantwell, 10. Tomori, 7. So wow. It's just a 20, 22, 20. So that's I think that's 35 points on my bench, which is like only 9 or so points fewer than I got in my whole team. But then the other frustrating thing, of course, was the captaincy, which is annoying anyway because it was on Son, -2. But those of you who kind of watched The Breakfast Club and had a read of the Captain Sensible article from last week, I was quite compelled. I was, quite compelled by the case for Danny Ings. Thought he might do well against Villa. Yeah. Jamie Vardy, I thought maybe I'd just stick with him because his form's so good. And in the end, I went with the safe pick of Son over the slightly more risky Ings and Vardy. And Ings 13 points. So had I captained him, that's like a huge swing. Vardy, not as big a swing, but still a swing enough. So it could have been a great game week had I just made that one decision. I had a few people on Twitter have a go at me for, oh, you've captained the wrong player. Well, I'll tell you what. Next time, I'll try and see the red card coming and go elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't really. It sounds a bit crazy. I didn't mind captaining a player who got sent off, but it was between Son and Rashford for me. So a player that blanked to a player that got a small minus for me there. And also, I just think, yeah, exactly, a red card. How can you can't, I guess some people would say he has form, but how are you going to guess that he's going to get a red card in that match? It's just.
So I think he's had that Cantona had in his whole career. So, maybe we should have seen it coming. Although one of them was rescinded, of course.
So what's that? He's had more red cards than Cantona?
I think I don't know how many times Son's been sent off before this calendar year, but in this calendar year, it's the same number of Premier League red cards as Cantona had total.
So we should be watching out for kung fu kicks.
Yeah, Cantona's better at kung fu kicking, I think, than but Son was like lying on the ground, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, one thing we should just say, one of those red cards was rescinded, and rightly so, because the red card against Everton, that wasn't a red card, definitely. But this one might be, and I'm saying that in inverted commas, because no way is it going to be, because anyone who's seen the footage, it's a clear and obvious red card. But Spurs have actually appealed it. So there's this slight kind of like possibility that in a ludicrous outcome, that it gets overturned, everyone sold him, and then he bangs a hat-trick against Brighton. So, it's highly unlikely, but we should probably just say that Spurs have appealed it, because it also might mean the ban gets extended as well. So
I hope it does, because I'm going to get rid of him, because I now hate him. Andy, what do you reckon to Son? You got 42 points as well, and you got Son in. You didn't captain him though, but you did spend some hits to get him. Tell us about your week.
Yeah, it's actually worse now. I'm 40 points. I was on 48, took an 8-point hit, so 40 total. Yeah, I had to get Son in this week, and I took a -8 to do it. And I bought in 4 players, and not one of them did anything. I think I got a total 3 points from all 4 of the players I bought in, which is pretty impressive, I think, to mess it up that badly. So I bought Aurier in. Obviously, Chelsea won the game quite comfortably, to be fair. Kelly obviously lost to Almiron, goal scoring hero, scores every week. And then Rico lost his and got a yellow card. So he misses the next game, which I'm not too bothered about, because I was gonna bench him anyway, so it's not a huge concern. But yeah, it just didn't go well. There's some red card. I was kind of flip flopping between Rashford and so I briefly thought about Ings, but realistically, I don't think I was ever going to put it on him. So I flip flopped, and I got home at like 11:25 and put it back on Rashford. But yeah, just nothing happened. Vardy, I thought his ceiling was probably a goal and 3 bonus, and that's exactly what he got, and that would have been brilliant this week. So probably stupid to bet against him. So yeah, pretty poor week. I'm basically the same rank as I was in Game Week 9, I think. So just going nowhere and doing it very, very, very slowly.
I know, I'm barely moving either. I don't know what we can do. Definitely not Captain Son again. He's
not this week at least.
No, not this week. I think Game Week 24 I might consider Son again. I think the fixtures get slightly better for him then, but he's gone, and fat chance of him getting his card rescinded. That's just not going to happen. But you never know. Let's have a look at some rough with the smooths. So we've all had a pretty rough to average week. Some real roughs here. El Conquistador, William to Son for a hit. And to compound that, he got Robertson out to Kelly, who blanked, so that he could bench Charlie Taylor, who got 7 points. So it was just like a rolling scale of awfulness for him. So he estimates his net loss is 28 points from that moves. He'd been better off doing nothing. Mark Dorney, William to Son, again, another one, and Captain Son as well to compound it. Mince and Tatties, he replaced Campwell with Son. There's a theme here. And at the top of the rankings, previous number ones, Magnus Carlsen, the world chess champion, he got 26 points. So we thought we'd done pretty badly with 40 or 44. Got 26. He captained Son, new in. He's now in 10th.
He bought in Harry Maguire as well.
Yeah, I know.
I think. Yeah, that was an interesting move. I mean, I like the move, but it hasn't worked out for us this season.
I mean, once again, it's not getting Son in for this match is not a bad move, but then the red card came. Nick Tanner slips to 4th. He got 32. He captained Kane So a bit different there. There is a couple of smooths. Eat My Goal, captained Grealish. So someone went for that move. And Rushan Uttamchandani, the new number 1 of the FPL rankings, got 55 points and he captained Danny Ings. So he did actually captain Danny Ings.
Legend.
And good move there. And he's propelled him to the top of the FPL rankings. So a bit of a risk, I suppose, going for a differential. But he's doing well. Son has been the key player, really, that everyone wants to talk about, but for the wrong reasons, who to replace him with. So, yeah, Andy, what's going on there and what have the community been asking?
Yeah, a bunch of questions, obviously, all around Son, different players to consider bringing in. So I'll quickly read them all out because there are about 8 of them. And then we'll take each one as it comes. So a couple just, Naveenth, Son replacement, what else? Prince Argyle, tell me who to bring in for Son. I'm too lazy to work it out myself. I like that one. I think, is it FPL Rusa or Reuser? Inventor of the Sword and Shields analogy. Is Pogba a good replacement? I like this question. Low ownership, differential for early adopters. I'd probably add that all he needs is a goal this week and he'll be on the price rise straight away. So he's an interesting one to get. I think it was about this time last year Solskjaer came in as well and Pogba absolutely smashed it. Obviously, we haven't got a new manager bounce this time, but to consider, obviously Salah and Mane coming up. So FPL goes which of Salah or Mane is to go with as a possible Son replacement. Boss would ask, should we double on Salah and Mane? So obviously a lot of people, I think yourself included, switch the Liverpool player to Son. Is it just a case of switching straight back? No overthinking. And then KTK Interesta, is Spurs double up of Ali and Kane worth considering? Lastly, FPL Dark Knight, are there just alternatives to Liverpool players? They got a pretty, as tough fixture runs go for Liverpool, it is quite tough at the moment, especially with Leicester away next. So should we be looking elsewhere, especially as they've just come back from the World Cup Cup? So there's a lot of questions there. We'll start with you, Joe, because you took out Mane for Son, right?
Yes.
So are you thinking of just going straight back to a Liverpool player and not overthinking it?
Yes. Exactly it. Because, you know me, I like the sort of dullard path. I removed Mane for Son because I was starting to think, I might want Salah at some point. I'm not, it wasn't urgent. Son will do, placeholder. And then I was going to think, somewhere down the line in a couple of weeks, I'm going to face a decision. Which of these Spurs midfielders do I remove for Salah or Mane? Now, easy choice. Son is gone. He's going to go this week. I think he's already fallen in price, but it didn't bother me because I got him at 10 million and he's back down to 10 million, so it's fine. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move Salah in. I left money in the bank in order to do that. No hit required. Nice and simple. Get in a really great player. One of the reasons is that I'm completely dull. But the other one is that I just like that price point. I feel absolutely naked going into any game week without Salah or Mane. I want one of them. I don't mind which one really. At the moment I prefer Salah, but they're both great. I do think there is merit in taking a risk in a slightly lower price player like Richarlison, as David has done. Pogba, with one of those questions about Pogba, very valid I think. Manchester United look good. I'm personally a bit happier as a Rashford owner with him on, but for my setup it doesn't really work, so that's what I'm going for. So I had a look at some of the stats. Midfielders last 4 shots on target, so this is the last 4 matches they played, not necessarily last 4 game weeks. So that's important because obviously Liverpool didn't play, so that will bring those in. So absolutely top of the pile is Mo Salah. Shots on target 9, most of any other player. Shots inside the box 16, most of any other player. As expected goals, he's expected to have scored 2.4 over the last 4 matches, and he's having a shot in the box every 21 minutes. He's top of the pile for everything. I want him in. I mean, he's basically like the best performing midfielder at the moment in terms of expected get points, goals, and the underlying stats. So I've got an opportunity to get him in, so I will. De Bruyne is second. If you don't have De Bruyne, get him in if you can. Then there's a few differentials here. So Antonio, Martial, Willian, who we saw in action against Spurs, he's good. Richarlison is good, is going well for shots on target. Grealish we know about, and Ali as well. So another move, if you've already got Mane and Salah, if you've already kept them on the bench, and you don't have any Spurs cover at all, they've got good fixtures coming up. They play my team Brighton coming up next. I think Son to Ali it sounds obvious, but sometimes, why complicate things? I think Spurs will score. There'll be a reaction, and Brighton are pants when it comes to away games. So I think that's a good move. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Keep it nice and simple. It's Christmas time. Keep it nice and simple. Focus on other things like eating and drinking.
Would you, if you already own Salah or Mane, whichever way around it is, and you could do it in one move to get the other one, would you double up on Liverpool? So just to kind of remind everyone, like their next 6 fixtures include Leicester, Wolves again, Spurs, and Man United.
No, I wouldn't. I would consider it down the line, perhaps, if for some reason I had enough money in the bank to get a 12-point whatever player. I would go for Sterling. I would go for Sterling and Salah. Back to Game Week 1 strategy. I would go for Sterling and Salah, and then reassess when Liverpool's fixtures get a bit better. But I think Sterling is a very good option as well. But I personally don't like to go into any game week without a Liverpool midfielder. I haven't done for about 2 years now, and I don't plan to now. But yeah, I definitely think if I didn't, I might consider something like a Richarlison. I think Richarlison's a good bet. Pogba as well. I would consider taking a risk there if I've already got a Liverpool midfielder. Gives you that freedom.
Yeah, it could be interesting. There's so many options. What about you, Dave? You've obviously got Son as well. Have to get rid of him, I think, if he's going to miss 3 games. Who's your number one target right now?
Yeah, so for me, it's Salah as well. And Joe's quite nicely stolen all the stats I was going to reel out. So I'll just say I agree with those stats. Not that you can agree with them. I've been kind of doing the Captain Sensible article today, and it's really stood out how much Salah I think should be in the captain conversation. Even though it's Leicester, because his stats just look so nice. It's a little bit harder for me. I'm annoyingly 0.1 out. I was like you, Joe. The fact that he went down in price last night hasn't cost me anything. So where I'm going to find the 0.1, I don't know, because it means another hit. That's the problem. I've just done a hit. And I was hoping that I could, roll it. Obviously, I now can't. If I was to go somewhere in one move, I suppose Ali I could go to, but obviously I already have him. But that's just for anyone who can't get to Salah in one move. I've sort of been looking at Lucas Moura a bit because obviously if Son's going to miss 3 games, if people are sort of worried about Moura, but if people were previously worried about whether or not Moura would start, I don't think you have to anymore because surely he now will. We can't. I mean, Eriksen hasn't really looked like he's going to necessarily be the replacement. So, so we've got our predicted lineup at the moment with Moura in the team and Sissoko playing on the right way has done previously. And Moura has actually been delivering largely when he's played. So, I mean, he's got 2 goals in his last 3. And, I mean, obviously, it was a little bit concerning how rubbish Spurs were even before they lost Son to the red card. But I do think that Chelsea set up so nicely in that game. Like, Lampard proper did his old boss, like, completely over with fantastic tactical decisions he made with the formation and the performance as well. So I do think that at home against Brighton, there will, like you say, I think there will be a reaction. And if there is going to be a reaction, it's kind of hard to see Moura not involved in that just because of his involvement over the last few weeks. My only slight concern, if you are going to go for Moura, because so for example, those of us on the double up, that would mean me having Ali and Moura if I went for it. Son's creativity when they've played well has been so key that if they don't have him and Eriksen's not back to his best, could they be like what Spurs were towards the end under Pochettino, where there wasn't really anyone creating anything? And when Spurs play like that, they're just so frustrating to watch. And then does it justify the double up? Probably not. As for double ups, I think I agree with you on Liverpool. Their fixtures don't really stand out to me as double up material. And if you're thinking about the structure of your team, I think right now that De Bruyne is certainly a more must own than Mane. And I think Sterling probably is as well. I mean, so over the last 4 matches, De Bruyne has had 8 shots on target, which is 3rd best in the league. Mane's had just 5. And even though Mane shot in the box a lot more, De Bruyne has still shot more in total. He hasn't had any big chances, but his creativity is so good. So if you're thinking about the price points, then it's kind of a choice between, because you can't really have, I don't think you can have Salah, Mane and De Bruyne. That's just not going to be doable. So I think Salah is the must-have for kind of all the reasons you've already mentioned there. I mean, he's had basically double the amounts of shots in the box as Mane, more big chances, nearly double the number of shots on target. So he's definitely the must-own, I think, if you're going to have a Liverpool. But who you pair him with, I think it's probably De Bruyne or Sterling, who has basically Sterling and De Bruyne have both had better XGI, expected goal involvement, over the last 4. than Mane. Choosing between Sterling and De Bruyne, I think, is still kind of difficult, but possibly depends on where you're at. Like if you kind of just trying to play safe, then just go with De Bruyne because of the ownership. But I think Sterling's going to get overlooked quite a lot. And then
I think if you're in a flat decision between De Bruyne and Sterling, you got to go for De Bruyne. He's 2 million cheaper and better, and getting more.
He's got the yellow card issue as well, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point on the yellow with Sterling.
Sterling's still great, but yeah, if it's a flat choice,
I think there's an opportunity there. That's all. I think there's just an opportunity that people can exploit. But yeah, so funnily enough, like I said, I didn't want to have to make any transfers this week. I sort of toyed with the idea of, because I know that Salah looks great, but I can't get to him in one move, and there will be a few other people out there I imagine have the same problem.
Yeah.
And I just briefly toyed with the idea. Todd Cantwell has done me in again, and I'm pretty sure that every goal he scored, he's been on my bench. And if I wanted to roll the transfer and therefore get Salah for free for probably a better fixture, because as much as Salah looks great, away at Leicester doesn't look hugely easy. If I just bench Son and finally start Todd Cantwell, then it might actually work out, because Aston Villa's defence has been so bad, which is why, of course, me and you, Joe, we've got Matt Target. But that aside, their defence really is dreadful. Basically, they're just, for the whole season, top or bottom of the league, I should say, for shots conceded in the box. Over the last 4, the most number of big chances conceded. And then XGC, this is crazy. So XGC last 4 matches, 11.17, which is obviously the worst.
Yeah.
The second worst in the whole league is West Ham on 6.2. So there's a gap of 5 goals there.
Yeah.
Like that's how far off everyone else they are.
I know McGinn now. I know he's not a defender, but that's not going to help either.
No, well, I mean, he's such a key. You're right. He's not a defender, but the job. He's a box to box. He is the epitome of a box to box. In that we all know what he can do going forward, but he wins so many tackles that him not being there, they've got some serious problems. And I think Norwich. So, for example, I think Pukki could be a good captain candidate this week. I'm not going to say the same for Cantwell, but actually, if I'm taking a hit to still bench Cantwell, I think he could burn me again. So, I don't know if I'll definitely go for that.
I think there's a lot of people in that position. I think it's a really good point about if you're sitting there with Cantwell on your bench and you're thinking about taking a hit to remove Son, just bench Son for a week, park him, play Cantwell. Definitely, I think, yeah.
And then
it's also not
then get Salah in the next week.
It's also not the worst time to be doing that, because it's such a quick turnaround to the next game. You haven't got a week of price drops. It's only a few days till the next deadline. So it's not. I've actually looked at maybe even bringing in Cantwell to do something similar. But I hate Son now. I love the guy, and he's really annoyed me this week. Like David said, I just did not want to get rid of him. Obviously, he's got 3 great fixtures, and I just don't know where to go. I'm kind of all over the place. So I've already got Mane, so I've already got my Liverpool midfielder. If I want Salah or Sterling, I've got to take a hit, which involves getting rid of Rashford before Newcastle, just as Pogba comes back. And as bad as Man United were at the weekend, they were a lot better once Pogba came on. I haven't seen the stats for that game, but I would imagine most of the chances came when he was on the pitch. It certainly looked that way from the eye test. And Rashford did have a pretty good chance at the end, so I'm not necessarily looking to get rid of him. I'm probably going to go to Ali. It just seems so boring though. I just don't really see another stand out. Not in one move. We're going to talk about Richarlison in a minute, and there's a couple of reasons why I don't necessarily want to go there. So I'm probably just going to go Ali. I know Pogba could be an option, but 2 Man United players.
Oh yeah.
When I was almost like thinking of rage selling Rashford after that performance of the weekend, it just doesn't seem like a good move. So yeah, I kind of agree with pretty much what you've said. I think Salah and Mane, look, if you look at the stats only, then Salah definitely the one. It's very hard to go against Mane, though, given there's nothing to say he's going to suddenly stop scoring all the points he has. Bear in mind, he's already ahead of Salah for points. I don't think he's really regressed or anything. So I'm more than happy to have Mane. Would I swap? Probably, but I think that's grass is always greener type thing. So yeah, I think I'd get a Liverpool midfielder back. I think the fact that Sheffield United and Wolves at home, are both at home, makes it a bit better. That makes the fixtures look a little bit better than they maybe are. But yeah, I think Pogba, if you really want to punt, then now is the time. Because if he scores against Newcastle, that will be a bandwagon very quickly, given the fixtures, especially if Man United look a bit better. But like you've already said, Ali and Moura look like the obvious moves given the fixtures.
And and we have, and in the live chat, that view is echoed there by Philman, who has appeared on the Meet the Manager series. Very good manager, lots and lots of top finishes. He says, Andy, don't overcomplicate it. Go Ali. There we go.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who comes in for Son. I'm assuming it's going to be Eriksen. And you have that creativity. I'm not really sure who else they could play there.
On the flip side, Martin Boyle in the live chat says Son to Pogba, punt, and then puts an exclamation mark
That's
there.
only because it's me, though. He knows I'm a sucker for a Man United player.
And my favourite comment on the live chat so far is Gaurav Maka. He just simply says, what did Son do? Well, there's a picture of what he did on the screen. He's got a red card on it.
Son knows what he did.
Yeah,
he knows. That's why he started crying.
Yeah, just put it this way. We all hate him and don't ever speak of him again. Let's move on. Everton. David, they're the team that, surprisingly, some people are talking about now. Got new manager. So, yeah, tell us a bit about Everton.
So they in good place right now. I mean, they've had really tough fixtures and have come through it with some great results under Duncan Ferguson. Laid the good groundwork for one heck of a coup. To bring Carlo Ancelotti to Everton is just is mad. I mean, some people have been suggesting that we are. It's just, Mourinho going to Spurs, Ancelotti going to Everton. Is it confirmation that we all live in someone's football manager save? Maybe. We'll see. But obviously what it means for fantasy teams in this particular alternate universe is that, everybody's talking about them again. A little bit of a disappointing result at the weekend for those of us who got Richarlison. But, there's some fixtures that look kind of nice coming up. Some form outside of that last game. So should we be looking to them because they're all pretty good price in most positions. So No Money says, are Everton assets now worth considering with form fixtures and a world-class manager? Dare Do the Punt says, Ancelotti seems to have got the best out of Brazilian stars like Kaká and Ronaldinho in the past. Can he do the same with Richarlison? I mean, that's one hell of a comparison there. Only time will tell. I think that's Scoutcast. I think is this person's username. Bit of a tricky one, bit of a mouthful. Do we get on early on Everton assets, or should we wait until after they play City in Gameweek 21? And Karam, who obviously is Scoutcast regular, says Everton have great fixtures on paper, but are their fixtures a trap, as we have so often seen with Everton in the past? That tends to be how it goes. So let's go for you first, then, Andy. Are Everton a trap? I suppose is a good way to start us off.
Kaká and Ronaldinho, I couldn't believe it when I saw that in the thing. I mean, Richarlison, I like the guy, but come on, he's not quite at that level. I don't think. I think if you look at the eighth, I don't really buy into the trap thing. Generally, if they got good fixtures, they got good fixtures. I know, without talking about Man United too quickly, we know how they want to play, and they do struggle against easier fixtures. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case for Everton. I quite like the next 8 fixtures. I'm just not sure about the next 3. Bearing in mind, we're not necessarily sure how Ancelotti is going to get them playing, how he's going to line them up. I'm sure there's not going to be massive changes straight away. But Newcastle away, is that a game that I'm really bothered about having an attack for? Then followed by Man City away. I know I'm usually too cautious and kind of a wait and see kind of guy. I just don't know if Burnley at home is that enticing that I want to get someone in just before Newcastle Man City. So I'd rather just wait and see for those 3 and then nail the good fixtures. I think Richarlison's like the standout. I think we said this last week. He is obviously the standout. He's the one that's going to get their goals. Whether they'll go to 2 up front, 1 up front, and he'll kind of play in a 4-3-3. I don't know how Ancelotti's going to line up. Defensively, I think Lucas Digne, maybe if he can shore him up at the back with those fixtures, attacking potential. He's only 5.7 now, so he's not massively expensive. And if Holgate keeps his place, I think there's quite a few Everton fans on Twitter that I've been looking at that think he will keep his place in the backline. He's very cheap, so I've got my eye on him. But otherwise, not really. I don't think Everton have got enough standout players that I really want to jump on straight away. Richarlison, don't really like the next 3 fixtures that much. And I want to see, Ancelotti's also not got that much time to maybe get his methods into action with such quick, once the Burnley game's done, 2 days, there's another game. 2 more days, there's another game. It's just not that much time over Christmas to get it sorted. So I'm sure he'll be a great manager, and I'm sure Everton assets will be good. And I don't buy the trap stuff, but for me, Man City away is not a trap. That's just a tough fixture. So I probably will wait until after that, personally.
Yeah, I know what you mean about wanting to wait on those particular things. I mean, obviously, I'm kind of different because I'm already in on them. So, I mean, I'm not going to do anything, but I'm already invested. But I was largely looking at it from the Arsenal perspective. I was expecting a lot more out of the Arsenal game. And I thought that I could maybe get something out of a couple of others. I mean, there's a few things about their fixtures that I kind of like. So, for example, Burnley XGC last four 6.02 is the third worst in the league. But of course, they get thrashed by Spurs and Man City in that time. But it certainly shows that they're not necessarily always completely, watertight. Newcastle is kind of a similar story, 5.84, so they're in the bottom six. And then Man City away, I think anyone could score there. If you can stage a counter attack, it's probably going to go in the back of the net because that's how it works. So I think as much the fixtures, it's a nice. I think for people who are kind of thinking about Everton, it's a nice opportunity because there will be lots of people who, like yourself, Andy, will probably make, I suppose, the right decision to just kind of get a bit more data under Ancelotti. But then that makes them slightly more of a differential, bearing in mind that I think the fixtures could be worse. I know what you mean on defence. We probably want to see a little bit more before we kind of go in there. Lots of people talking about Digne, but I just wanted to mention Sidibe on the other side, because in the last four, Sidibe and Digne have created the same number of big chances he's created, and Digne hasn't created any. And obviously that's only a short sort of spell, but obviously Sidibe's 0.4 cheaper and also has more assists in the last four than Digne as well. So there's certainly an option on the other side, which is quite nice.
That's a good shout. I think when you watch the game as well, he has just looked good. Like he's been driving forward, Sidibe. So I think that's a good shout. Yeah. Yeah,
he does look good from the eye test as well. And the only other thing, just for me on Richarlison, yes, he played on the left against Arsenal after Iwobi went off, but I still think there's a chance he could probably play centre forward. Some people are sort of wondering what formation he might play. Ferguson's had a lot of success with the 4-4-2, just as Mike Bassett once famously did, and it looks like Ancelotti could do that too because he played 4-4-2, I think, at Napoli. So he's got experience of 4-4-2. Ferguson's made some success with 4-4-2 with these players, and Ancelotti strikes me as the kind of manager that will kind of look at that and go, all right, well, we'll start with that as a basis. And if he does, then I'd hope that means that Richarlison stays as the centre forward, because him and Calvert-Lewin as a centre forward partnership, there's a lot of potential there. I think the two players that have been tasked with centre forward duty under Marco Silva, often on their own, and they've been very isolated, but put them together and give them the opportunity to kind of bully the centre backs as a pairing, I think they can do some damage. So certainly a lot of reasons to be excited about Everton assets, I think. And as I said, I think the fixtures aren't as hard as they perhaps look. So yeah, what do you think, Joe?
Yeah, after I discovered that you got Richarlison in, and we were talking about him on the Breakfast Club, I did get him into my Sky Maverick team. You can get two teams in Sky, and I've got a normal team, which is as dull as you would imagine, and I've got a crazy Maverick team. So I captained Richarlison for that. So fat lot good it did me, but nevertheless, I am pleased to have him for these fixtures going on in FPL. Like Andy says, I'm being cautious, and I think I want to see them up until see how Ancelotti settles in, and then they've got that City game, which is really tough. I think it's game week 21, so game week 22 is when I'm going to start looking a bit Everton-y. Ali could be removed for Richarlison there. Grealish with a bit more money could be moved there, and of course you mentioned Sidibe and Digne as well. I like the things that are coming out so far. The comments. Or the rumours coming out that Richarlison and Digne are the sort of Everton prized assets, so that makes them good. You imagine team being built around them, you would imagine as well. Ferguson's still on the staff, so as you said, the 4-4-2 could continue. Calvert-Lewin is someone I'm very interested in. If I'm looking to, I've got no room for another striker at the moment, but if Calvert-Lewin's sort of like a permanent fixture up top, and maybe he's going for Tosun, maybe Keane could get a look in, but Calvert-Lewin's the sort of steady guy up top. I don't know. Who knows? Richarlison could of course play out wide. I just need to know. I want to see more of what's happening there. So anyway, I've done some like I did those previous stats, last four matches. So I've looked at not game weeks, last four matches. So this is highlights those that perhaps played a little while ago, and the sort of players that could be of interest. Calvert-Lewin is on the top with a number of goal attempts, 12 goal attempts over his last four matches, 9 of those inside the box, 5 on target. These are really good stats. Calvert-Lewin starting to appeal. Tosun has had 10 shots, in fact, and 9 of those inside the box over his last four matches. So if Tosun starts to get a look in, never know. Richarlison is third there in terms of goal attempts with 7, so not as good, but 7 of those, so 7 goal attempts, every single one of them inside the box, which is exactly where you want them to be. So these are still quite promising stats. You mentioned there about Luca Dean. When I was looking at goal attempts and chances created, Luca Dean really wasn't standing out there. So I'd like to see more of that, because maybe go for Luca Dean. But I'm not seeing enough at the moment to make me go there. The rest I'm not really considering, put it that way. But yeah, Richarlison, Luca Dean, Sidibe, Calvert-Lewin. You never know. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Everton.
Yeah, I'm glad that he's in your Sky team, because then it kind of when you did that, it was like, oh, well, at least I probably made the right decision somehow, somewhere, because you've pulled him in there.
Yeah.
There's two other things I actually just wanted to add that I've just thought of as well. Because people have been saying in the chat about Sigurdsson, and yeah, he could be another one as well. The only thing is, if they're playing 4-4-2, he might be a bit deeper, because obviously historically he's played like number 10, and he has been a bit deeper in this 4-4-2. And the other thing is that I don't know who's going to take the penalties under Ancelotti, but for some reason, and I have no idea why, Sigurdsson is their designated taker, even though, with the best of respect to him, as a former Reading player, I have a lot of, I respect him. But his penalties are rubbish. He's so bad at penalties. I think he's missed 5 of his last 7 or something stupid. Like in the last 2 years, he's missed over something like 60% of his penalties. So I would probably stay away from him, worried that they might get a penalty, because he's got a very good chance of missing it. And then just the only other thing is on Keane, the centre forward, who obviously hasn't really particularly settled very well into life at Everton. But we had some interesting quotes from him this morning, so from Ancelotti, I should say, on him, that suggests that he's certainly got a view to use him. So he said Keane did really well last year, and he said, when I was at Napoli, I tried to buy him. He's a really good player with lots of talent. You have to consider that he's 19 years old. For every player that changed countries and teams, you always need a period of adaptation. So some interesting quotes there, because clearly he thinks he's got talent. Otherwise, he wouldn't have tried to sign him at Napoli. So definitely worth looking out there. And obviously, of course, as you mentioned, that Richarlison, as a result of some of the options he has up front, could still be on the wing. So yeah, Keane. I'm not.
There's the Italian factor as well with him, right?
Yeah, that's true.
That's probably going to help. He's foreign country. Hasn't really done well so far.
And if he wanted to sign, him previously, that's a really good sign. Look at Mourinho's attitude to Lucas Moura.
Yeah, exactly.
Moura's suddenly getting much more game time than we're used to seeing him, and so that is to me, it all points to post Gameweek 21. Use this time to kind of assess. And concentrate on other things over Christmas, but then Gameweek 22, just focus everything on Everton, whether you reject them or not. I think that's a good time for me anyway to go for Everton. Usually each week before the game week, we have a captaincy video and podcast where myself and David discuss those things. But the game week's coming thick and fast. We've got Christmas coming up, so we're just going to incorporate that as our talking point here of who to captain. And the reason we're doing that is because there's a lot of choices to be made, I think, this week. It's very similar to Game Week 18. So in this case, you've got Son red carded, so he might have been a good captain. He's out of the equation now. Do we really trust Harry Kane? Dele Alli, is he captain material? Liverpool playing Leicester, Man City against Wolves, Manchester United in poor form. So the captaincy, I think, is wide open again. It could be another week to be different, and of course that didn't go so well last time, or it could be another week to perhaps be a bit of a dullard and they go for the likes of Vardy or this fella who's on the screen at the moment, KDB, who is possibly the best player in the Premier League at the moment. It's whether he can convert that into huge FPL returns, and the answer to that is he can, because he has done so far, but it's whether he can do it this week. So what I'll do is we'll go through some of the kind of key candidates and I'll find out what you think. So let's look at this guy first. KDB, and to a lesser extent Sterling, Aguero, Jesus. They're playing Wolves. Andy, what do you think? KDB captaincy material?
Not for me. I just don't like that fixture. I just don't like Wolves away. I think that's pretty tough. I think I looked earlier. They've only conceded more than 2 goals in a game twice, and that was back in Game Week 4 and 5. I don't think they've conceded more than twice since then. And they're just not a team that's going to get turned over. And of course, you don't have to win 3-4-5-0 to get a big score. Like we saw Vardy get 9 points just from 1 goal and a loss. But Man City have got so many good players that can score goals. Like in a 2-0 win, it can quite easily just not be De Bruyne that's involved. He would have probably got a bigger score at the weekend if he didn't get that yellow card, because he would have been on for bonus. But I just think there's better options out there. I don't. It's hard to argue against him because he's looked so good, as well as been, as always, posting good numbers, always creative. Aguero back is really good as well, I think. Not that Jesus is a bad player. I just prefer Aguero in that team with De Bruyne. But not for me. The Wolves fixture would put me off. I expect Wolves to defend well, and Man City. Sure, they'll probably win that game, but I don't see it being a high scoring one. So that would put me off, I think, for De Bruyne.
What about you, David? You've got Sterling as well, so he must be under consideration for the captaincy.
Yeah, although I think Sterling's really under consideration for the captaincy for me because, like I was just saying earlier, I think he represents an opportunity for some gains because he's been to some extent overlooked. He didn't do as well as I kind of hoped he would in game week 18. Obviously, I got the assist out of him being fouled for the penalty. I kind of agree with Andy. I think, but only in the context of some of the other fixtures that are available. So, it's not that I don't rate Man City's players. I mean, so for example, like Kevin De Bruyne, last 4 matches, minutes per expected goal involvement, 105.4. It's the best, the third best in the league, behind only Vardy and Harvey Barnes, who's come out of nowhere to go top of that chart. So, he obviously looks great. He kind of feels, I don't know, if I was going to captain him, it would probably be like, I don't want to say like an auto pick, but just kind of like, he looks good, so I'll back him whatever the fixture. But like I said, I kind of prefer some of the other fixtures and some of the other players. Like, for example, I think I do actually really like the look of Vardy or Salah this week.
Okay.
Vardy, I mean, I'll go over some of Vardy's stats.
Yeah.
That he's still in a decent area of the table for a various number of things. So shots in the box last 4, 12, so that's the third best. Big chances, he's had 4, which is the second best, and shots on target 7, so third best. So it's a little bit of a dip from where he was a few weeks ago, but of course the fixtures have stiffened for him. So for him to still be in that particular area, having faced a Man City team that doesn't really offer up too many chances. When they do offer up chances, they are big chances, of course, but they don't offer up too many. For him to still be in that particular area of the table is, I think, impressive. He seems to always score against Liverpool. It's at the King Power as well. And Liverpool are another team that I think he's suited to, because even when he wasn't performing against the rubbish teams, he was still scoring against the likes of Liverpool and Man City, because they play a relatively high line. I know Liverpool are going to be away, but you'd imagine that they would want to have a fair bit of possession, so there's every chance they can hit them on the counter. So I think he looks good for this particular game, but at the same time, so does Salah. We've already talked about his stats. I'll just mention them again if people have only just joined us. Salah, last 4 matches, 16 shots in a box is the best in the league. 4 big chances is the second best in the league. And he's behind, on that stat, he's behind McGoldrick, who you're never going to captain, and Jesus, who is going to start game week 19 because Aguero is not ready for 90 minutes yet. But as you already mentioned, I think the Wolves fixture is a bit of a tough one. And then Salah's shots on target is 9, so behind only Rashford. Okay. So, he's in the top 3 or top 2 for those. So those 3, I think, key stats, and his minutes per expected goal involvement, he's in the top 5 or 6 in the last 4 as well. So he just looks so good for this game. I know Leicester's defence has been quite good this year, but I do just really fancy him personally. So they're the 2 that I think I'm torn on. And then just my differential, I'm going to throw him in now, see what you guys think, is Timu Pukki.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout.
Because we've already talked about Villa's defence, and Pukki's stats are starting to get back to where we would like. I say we would like. No one really owns him anymore, but if you've got him, they look pretty good. So last 4, 11 shots in a box, that's in the top 5. Big chances, he's had 4, which is the same number as Salah and Vardy. And in terms of shots on target, he's had 7, so that's the same as Vardy as well. So he's arguably got a much easier fixture compared to Vardy as well. So if you're still sitting there with Timu Pukki and you're looking for a Christmas party, then put the captaincy on him. He looks like a really good option this week.
So, Andy, there was David's mentioned there, moving on to that great Liverpool-Leicester clash, and once again it's that same theme of going for a Manchester City player. What do you think about that? The kind of safety of a Liverpool mid, the safety of Vardy, and also following on from that, what do you think about the safety of betting on a player who's playing Villa, Pukki? What do you think of those captain selections?
Yeah, I really like the Pookie shot. Someone actually, Kevin in chat did say when I was saying Wolves was a tough fixture, Norwich did pretty much open them up over and over again. They did, to be fair. Like Pookie should have had 1 or 2 goals in that game. So against Villa, I think that's a great shout if you still own him. Like I said, there's probably not too many owners right now watching, but if you do, outside punt a bit like Danny Ings last week, great shout. Leicester Liverpool, I think that's going to be quite open. I thought the Leicester Man City game was quite open, even though Man City had the majority of the possession. They kept going. So I think it's going to happen again because that's a huge win, whoever can get it. Obviously, Liverpool open up the gap even more, and Leicester got a chance to close it. Even if realistically the league's maybe already gone, there's still a chance while it's not completely done. So I quite like that. I just can't sit here and argue against Vardy. It's just impossible. Like the guy is just insane. Even if you just get a 9-pointer, that's probably fine for captaincy. I do think obviously there was a tactic of they were trying to get the ball in behind for Vardy, like they do a lot. I do think Liverpool have probably got the players to cope with it a bit better than Man City did. Van Dijk there, Trent and Robertson, but they're still going to try it and they're still going to have every chance to counter Liverpool. So I do like it. I just don't know how you can argue against Jamie Vardy, and he's at home. I know there was a quote or something from Rodgers about Vardy getting rested. There's no way it's going to be in this game.
It's not this one, is it? It's going to be the next one, isn't it?
Yeah. So he's nailed on. He's on penalties. Like there's not to like, and I've considered Mane as well because I just wanted to use these 2 fixtures. Because the thing is, Vardy didn't get captained that highly last week. That will increase this week because he scored again against a tough team. Now he's at home. So I want to try and do something different. So I have looked at Mane. But I think I'm going to captain whoever I bring in for Son. It's probably going to be Dele Alli. I just want to try something different. Not saying that's the best option. But again, if you're going to go for something different, then do it when Liverpool are playing Leicester. Go for Dele Alli. Like stats-wise, doesn't actually look great for the last 4 for Spurs players.
No.
But they have played United away, Wolves away, Chelsea at home. So it's not been the easiest 4 fixtures. So maybe a little bit of an unknown because you don't know who's going to come in for Son. But yeah, I like the Leicester Liverpool player. I think David's, all those stats are good. Eye test, obviously, Vardy's just been smashing it for so long. I can't see an argument. He's the safest player probably to pick.
I mean, I like the idea of that. I mean, actually, the way I play the game, I like the idea of one of these safe picks. Although this week I'm thinking of someone slightly different. To the ones that have been mentioned so far. So Wolves can concede, but they've conceded 5 on the road over the last 4 away matches, and the expected goals conceded of 4. So that doesn't say drubbing there. To just 5 big chances conceded. Only Tottenham and Arsenal, surprisingly, and Liverpool and Man City have conceded fewer over the last 4 away matches. Vardy against Salah or Mane, skill of Vardy and Salah Mane. I hate to use the word stat buster here, but it's just look at the eye test here. These are 2 sets of good players in the 2 great performing teams. I think there's going to be goals in this. We've seen Vardy score against top sides before. We've seen Salah and Mane do well. They're going to do well. Ali and Kane are Brighton on the road are poor. Conceded 15 goals away from the Amex and 23 big chances. Only West Ham and Villa have conceded more than them on the road in terms of those big chances there. So I think there are points there, and I think if anyone's going to be brave and trust in Kane for the captaincy, I of course got rid of him some time ago, but I think this could be a Kane match. And you would think that if there is some reaction, I think the Ali punt for the captaincy could do well. First I'm thinking of, though, is the guy that everyone hates who's not Son, and that's Rashford, because he blanked last time. But I think he's looked good still. I think Newcastle aren't so good on the road. And my bus captain is currently on Rashford. And I think Pogba back is going to help. It's a home game. Newcastle conceded 22 big chances on the road. That's the 4th worst this season out of any other side. So they're really bad on the road. But they're very good at home, as we've seen. There's some other things. I was looking at expected goal involvement. So top of the tree over the last 4 matches is Vardy. He was expected to have scored 3.74, so about 4 goals. And he has. And he scored 4 goals. De Bruyne's next. And then 3rd is Rashford. So Rashford should have been... he's expected to be involved in a high amount of goals. And, I just think he's a good bet. I think he's got the underlying stats. And I think I'm not a Manchester United fan, so I'm not really against them, and I'm not really for them, and I'm not that passionate about whether they do well or not, or whether they win or lose. But I am passionate about my player, who's Rashford, getting on the score sheet. So if he could score a brace, even if he could lose 3-2, which is very unlikely, I just think Rashford looks good for me. But yeah, what do you
he did have a nice chance at the end of that Watford game, which if that had gone in, we wouldn't even really be talking about. I did see a stat which I wrote down. I can't remember who it was, but someone said that Man United got 1.01 expected goals when Pogba was on the pitch, and that was like most of the expected goals for the whole game. He was only on for 25 minutes, so he did make a big difference. So it's really hard to call how we're going to play in the next game.
The runs they all made were a lot better as well.
Yeah, he was getting them behind, and there was that chance where he had a shot. He could have easily squared it to Rashford, and we would have scored. So yeah, I think it's too obviously not going to be taking him out, but. Yeah, Captaincy, interesting shout that. I hope it comes off, of course.
Yeah, there's some other sort of differential options. Richarlison we've mentioned against Burnley. Pukki against Villa, I don't even think is a differential. Villa defence is so bad, as David points out. Pukki is in form, so even Captain Cantwell could work out.
I nearly did that for my bus team this morning. Ooh. I nearly just bus team Captain Cantwell because I was just like, this season's gone. Let's just go for it.
A Chelsea player against Southampton, though. We haven't mentioned Chelsea. I personally don't own Abraham. If I did, I wouldn't trust him with the captaincy because I tried that last time. And also, which Chelsea is he going to be? The one that gets beaten by Bournemouth at home, or the one that completely annihilates Spurs? I don't know. Is a Chelsea player in any of your consideration?
I think that Abraham's really the only one, and I don't want to talk about rotation too much because none of us can really say for 100%. But surely he probably misses one of the next two. Could it be the Southampton game? Potentially. I thought he looked pretty good. I know he didn't really have too much goal involved or whatever. I thought he looked pretty good against Spurs. But like you said, then they lost 1-0 to Bournemouth. So he's the only one you can really consider. I thought Mount was really good against Spurs, but I wouldn't consider him for captaincy. And Pulisic just missed out. So he could come back in, and we know what his stats are like. But he's not converting them, and there's a chance he doesn't play because he missed the last game. So maybe they'll just carry on without him. Maybe at some point Hudson-Odoi will get in, whoever it might be. So there's just no one there I want to captain. I don't know if David thinks differently.
Yeah. No, I think I largely agree with you. It's the unknowns that unnerve me. Pulisic definitely, he's 13 shots in the box. I think his top 3 last 4 games played because obviously he didn't play the other day. But I think it's just 2 shots on target. So let you say not converting. Abraham is a strange one because he had 3 shots in the box against Chelsea, but there was never a point, which was top for the game, but there was never a point where I really thought he'd really looked like scoring. Like the reason that Chelsea was so good in that game was kind of the way they controlled it, and it wasn't a game where Abraham tore him to shreds. And of course, as you said there, that with Chelsea and Abraham, there's always a possibility that they get done in at home by a team threatened by relegation. So that's their fixture this week. Danny Ings is in form too. So who's to say that Southampton don't go 2-0 up and then Chelsea, full of young players, panic. So, and then of course rotation as well. Every possibility that can happen. So the thing is Abraham's stats last 4 aren't bad. They're still fairly decent. 12 shots in the box and 4 shots on target. I mean, it could be better. It's all right, but I don't know. From the eye test, it's been a while since I've really seen Abraham look really dangerous. So he's my bus captain at the moment, but that was only because I was probably just trying to make sure I didn't accidentally leave it on Cantwell. I think Vardy and Salah, for me, showing they both look better from the eye test. They're both showing better form, and even though they've got a tough fixture, I just think they're a bit more reliable and undroppable than any of the Chelsea players.
Yeah, I think that's the case. We'll come to our bus teams shortly, which will reveal who's definitely in our thinking with the captaincy. Meanwhile, let's turn to differentials. Now, David's turn this time. Andy ruined Lacazette last time. Completely stopped.
Not even bloody playing.
I know.
What has happened there?
I know. He's ruined him so much. He's not even on the pitch. I ruined Guita. It was like an absolute sure thing. This guy gets points when he concedes, and then suddenly I differential him, and then there we go. Gets nothing. I usually say jokingly, so no pressure then after someone said Ings or Ali or whatever. But David, you literally have no pressure here. You can go for anyone and still be better than us two. Which under 5% owned gem should we be looking at for the next 4 game weeks?
So Can I guess before you put
guess. Yeah, go. Yeah.
More pay.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Joe, would you like a guess?
No.
Oh, Joe. No Christmas jumper and no guess.
No, because I'm not sure of the ownership. I'm presuming Pogba is over 5%, but if he's not, I would say Pogba.
Oh, okay. No, well, okay. That's like a half guess. Also, no. I'm going with Michael Antonio, who I have a real soft spot for, and I always have. I love the guy. I think he's so. I think I got on him on when he was a bandwagon, like maybe like 3 years ago, when he was like 5.5 or something, and he just went on a stupid run where he was just scoring every week. So I've always had a bit of a soft spot for him, but I think it could be Antonio time again from what I've seen recently, and I always enjoy it when a nostalgia pick shows some form. So fixtures, they're away at Palace next, which kind of sounds tough on paper, but Palace obviously just played Newcastle, and Newcastle didn't really create a huge amount. So it means that the defensive stats for Palace last sort of 4 look quite good, but before that game, they actually looked really rubbish. And apologies, I haven't got them loaded right now, but if you go and have a look at between game weeks, what would it have been? 17 and 14, I think. Palace were inside the bottom 5 for so many things, shots in the box conceded, big chances, XGC, etc. So I think West Ham can score there. Leicester at home is a little bit harder, but then they've got Southampton at home, Sheffield United away, Everton at home. The fixtures are all right. They're not amazing, but they're all right. But Antonio himself, playing centre forward for West Ham last few weeks alongside Allaire, and his stats, even before West Ham picked up their form, were looking quite good. So his last 4, 9 shots in a box, 2 big chances. So he's had more big chances than a whole host of really important players, like, in that sort of area. And then 5 shots on target is also in the top 5. So for a player at 6.9 to be sort of keeping sort of company with some of the more premium assets, there's definitely some form there. He seems to be like the only West Ham player in this team that kind of is asked, he can be bothered. So even when they were playing bad, he was standing out as the key guy. As I said, out of position as a centre forward with some fixtures that I think are nicer than they look on paper. 0.7% owned, and of course a nostalgia pick as well. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I like it. He's a midfielder, and he's 6.9, is he now?
Yes, that's right.
And there's only 2 players with more shots on target than him. Two midfielders with more shots on target than him over the last 4. And that's Salah and De Bruyne. It's okay, so he's thirds to those guys. Oh, okay. In terms of shots inside the box, you mentioned there's 9. I'm looking at shots inside the box amongst midfielders. Salah, 16. That's it. I think that's it. He's second to Salah. So I can't argue with that. West Ham's defence are awful. Their goalkeeper's basically my cat, or whoever else they can rope in.
Well, you say that. It could actually be Schrodinger's cat at this point, because Pellegrini said today that there's a chance Fabianski could play, there's a chance Martin can play, and I still trust Roberto, so maybe he plays as well. So, yeah.
He definitely doesn't trust Roberto.
Maybe.
That was definitely a massive lie.
Maybe it's a new formation. He's playing with 3 goalies.
3 goalkeepers.
Yeah.
He might have to do that.
It's probably the only way they're going to stop conceding. But as I said, it's fantasy football. We don't care whether West Ham get absolutely beaten. What we care about is the differential of Antonio. I think it's a good pick. I like it. Andy, you like him?
Yeah, I like the nostalgia. I like the argument for sure. I do think the fixtures are as bad as they look, though. I think Crystal Palace, he's betting against Guaita there, then Leicester have been so good, and then betting against Lundstrom. I don't know. I think that's quite tough. But I like that when he's on form, like he said a few seasons ago, he was brilliant. It's just
he's a beast.
He's been quite injury prone, hasn't he? So I guess you never know about that. But yeah, yes. I think that's a proper differential pick. Though more pay would have been a bit too obvious, which is why I guessed it.
I don't know if that's I think that's a compliment. I think
it was. Yeah, no, it's a proper differential pick.
Yeah, and of course I picked Guaita last week, so I've ruined him. So it doesn't matter. So there we go.
He's gently weeping at this point. Isn't he,
he is. My Guaita is gently weeping. And Antonia is there to pounce. Clean sheets. David, do you want to tell us about who are the best bets for clean sheets over the next 6 game weeks?
Yes, I can do. So a lot of people have been looking at... I saw some people on Twitter the other day and they must have gone crazy because they were like, I'm thinking about Otamendi. And I thought, wow, that's a bit strange. But then I did look at Man City's fixtures and... well, they are top of the season ticker for defence over the next 6 game weeks. Wolves away, Sheffield United at home, Everton at home, Villa away, Palace at home, Sheffield United away. Because we're in that weird stage of the season where you end up playing the same team twice within a 6-week period, home and away. Sheffield United is who it is for them. West Ham. So we've just been talking about them. Maybe Antonio's going to get the odd one extra point and help me on my differential score. Palace away. Palace very rarely score at home. Leicester, Bournemouth, they just look so rubbish going forward now. Sheffield United are also playing Everton and Leicester again. Everton are playing Burnley, and Burnley away from home don't tend to offer a massive amount. Then Newcastle away. So the next two, especially for Everton's defence, look really nice. Then they are going to play Man City, but then they've got Brighton at home, West Ham away, and then Newcastle again. So Everton playing Newcastle twice in the next 6 weeks. That's quite tasty because they don't score too many. Spurs are still up there, so potentially some still reason to get on Aurier if you want. So Brighton at home, Norwich away, Southampton away, Liverpool at home obviously is the tough one, but Watford away and Norwich at home. And then so Villa, Bournemouth, Watford, and Leicester are kind of the next four. The only thing I will say about a lot of these I've been struggling with. We've been struggling with defence all season, but I feel like when you look at some of these schedules, a lot of the fixtures are harder than they are on paper to keep clean sheets in, mostly because the teams that we're looking at here at this end of the table, I don't trust. So Man City, I don't trust them to keep a clean sheet against anybody, which is crazy considering that they won the league. So, yeah. West Ham, absolutely the same. Everton, are they a trap potentially? They've shown some defensive form a little bit recently, so maybe. Spurs are the same. They have good defensive stats over Mourinho's time in charge, but not too many clean sheets to show for it. And it's really annoying because it's really helpful for fantasy managers when the season ticker and the form charts for defence match up. And I got to say, right now, I don't think they do. So it's really annoying indeed.
Not a good set of clean sheets there. Not a lot of interest. I mean, I think, maybe City. There's too many cheap options out there. Luca Dean from Game Week 22 or Sidibe from Game Week 22. So the Everton have got Brighton, West Ham and Newcastle. I think that's quite a good run. The Newcastle and the Brighton games are at home, which adds to that. And I think Andy said earlier he wasn't too bothered about getting Everton defensive assets for Burnley, Newcastle and obviously City. I think that for me is the sort of standout there is like we've got time to have a look at Everton. The clean sheets, but I agree. There's not a lot of teams I'm interested in at the moment. Let's move on to bus teams for Game Week 19. David, do you want to go first? Who, whatever your transfers, and just to confirm your captaincy.
Yeah, well, I think the captaincy will probably be confirmed once I've finished writing Captain Sensible, because that normally informs me more adequately. It's hard for it not to because there's so much information there. So keep an eye out for that tomorrow. If you're not doing your last minute Christmas shopping, do your last minute Christmas captaining. So I'm not sure. It's probably going to be between Vardy and Salah, but we'll see. Like I said, don't read anything into the fact that it's currently on Abraham. I was just randomly assigned. In terms of my moves, obviously you can see that Son is on the bench. So I am considering benching him, saving the transfer, losing hopefully not much more than 0.1 on Son to then be able to get Salah in for free for a considerably easier fixture, and then finally start Cantwell. And because the thing is, it's just if I'm not going to start Cantwell away at Villa, I don't really know when I am going to start him because Villa's defence is just so bad and it's worse at Villa Park. And of course, no McGinn as well. So in terms of how they shore it up, I don't really know what they do. So I am considering that. Yeah, if I am going to move Son on, it will be for Salah for a hit. But as I sort of mentioned, and as a lot of people have already mentioned, if you're short of funds to get Salah and you have to take a hit, who I then downgrade is a tricky one. I've sort of toyed with the idea of downgrading Alexander-Arnold, but I never like downgrading a player I'd probably like to keep to get one player, because it then feels like getting rid of, two to get one. But of course, obviously, one of the people going is Son. So decisions to be made there. I've also toyed with maybe downgrading one of Pope or Henderson, because even though I like the flexibility, so for example, this week I think I'm going to start, the Sheffield United defence at home to Watford rather than Burnley away to Everton. I'm 0.1 short, and had I had for the Salah move, and had I had Pope and a 4.0 or Henderson and a 4.0, I would just be able to do a straight swap, no problem. So could I maybe set myself up for some easier moves in the future if I join my own club and downgrade goalkeeper option. So lots of decisions to make. Thank you very much, Son. I would much rather be not thinking about FPL over Christmas, but unfortunately I have to.
Okay, decisions to be made. I'll go quickly next because I've already said what change I'm going to do. Son out, Salah straight, no hit, just done. Nice and simple. For the captaincy, at the moment, I like on paper Rashford against Newcastle is at home, and all those other reasons I mentioned. Pogba back is at home. Newcastle are actually awful on the road. Very good at home at the moment. There I'm going. Vardy has got the vice captaincy. He's under consideration. When I get Salah in, he will also be under consideration. De Bruyne possibly. They're the only ones I'm sort of considering at the moment. Probably be Vardy, Rashford be the decision. I'm going to play Matt Target. You mentioned about staying on target. The whole Villa defence is just impacting on the surface there. I'm going for the double Sheffield United move there. Henderson, Lundstrom, Alexander-Arnold's back. Kept him lovely on my bench, hibernating for a week, and there he comes. And so Sionju and Dionk and Dendonker and Pope are taking it turns to rack up some inevitable bench points for me. But yeah, that's me. Andy, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to deal with Son. I don't think I can bench him and play Dendonker and Soyuncu. I just don't want to do that. So I'm gonna get rid of him, probably for Dele Alli, just because double Man United attack just doesn't seem right. And Ali, just like you said, it does seem extremely obvious. I might go for Lucas Moura. I just know that I might always have that worry about rotation down the line, whereas I don't think I've really got that with Ali. Mourinho seems fully behind him and how he plays. So probably going to do Son to Ali. And then it's just captaincy, really. You've got me thinking about Rashford a bit more now. I think I'll probably stick it on Ali, though, and keep it. I just, as much as it's hard to, I just don't want to captain JP Vardy. I just don't want to do it. Like, I'm going to be captaining him so much over the next few weeks, I'm sure. I'm gonna hope that Liverpool can maybe get a clean sheet or at least keep his score to a minimum. So probably between Ali and Mane for me. I just think Ali against Brighton at home is going to be a bit of a differential. So I think even last week when I suppose it was Chelsea, so a bit different. But if Son was pretty well captain, but Ali didn't even show up in like the top 5, I don't think. So he's still good bit of differential. So he's probably who I'll go for. Unless I go for Rashford. But yeah, super frustrating to have to make a move this week. 1 and 2 free transfers, but that is FPL for you.
Indeed, yeah, nice one, Son. Ruined all our plans. Just before we go, just want to mention obviously a lot of our stats there and the information on the season tickets all comes from Fantasy Football Scout members area. I just want to thank all those throughout the year and throughout the season who've been watching and listening to our ramblings about the game week that's about to happen, and also thanks to all our fellow podcasters. So it's a bit like the Goalkeepers Union, Podcasters Union here. There's lots of you out there. I personally, not only do I go on these podcasts here, but I listen to loads from other people as well, and I really enjoy them. So a big shout out to all of you. You're doing a great job. But in the meantime, it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye.
And goodbye from me as well.
Goodbye all.